It is, of course, time now we talk. And you have asked me my opinion about Vladimir Putin, Zelensky, the little chappie, the people behind the little fellow, Vladimir Zelensky, who is, of course, the democratically elected gentleman, handling his particular situation in Ukraine. And of course, you have asked me my analysis, what I could possibly know about the gentleman Vladimir Putin, the gentleman who is the democratically elected representative of his people. And why should I particularly know? However, I have an opinion. Certain people intuit to me. I know certain emigres, rather charming people from Russia, diplomatic people from China, certain ladies, shall we say, who entertain gentlemen involved in the diplomatic area, ladies who are Romanian, particularly adorable female women, who come with a worldly wisdom beyond their years and an innocence. Great Britain is a key player in all of this. We have the truth we can see, and there are no Ukrainian refugees who come to Great Britain. The British government has long-term policy, and that policy does not involve allowing people to come. And remember, fellows are not allowed to leave the chappie Zelensky. The little fellow, he's really quite insistent. The gentleman, Mr. Zelensky, Monsieur Zelensky, perhaps, he has stepped into a situation, and I think we should be thoughtful not to jump to conclusions. But in the West, we know a grand doesn't come for free. Do you understand what I mean? The gentleman Zelensky, quite young, a grand does not come for free. Suddenly he is propelled to the highest position in a nation in a rather singular position. It is not a member of NATO. The European Union had said, no, 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 no. No, no, no. Please don't take it personally, the European Union said. In their way, you understand, what do I know about these things? They said, no, 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 you're not ready. We can't discuss it fully. It's all online, what Ukraine has to fulfill to become a member of NATO and the European Union. This is the twist, and I think he wasn't fully appraised that certain people, perhaps NATO people, perhaps Western military people, had an idea, and we don't know. We were not there. We perhaps know certain people, and certain people said, well, this situation is perhaps not straightforward as the general public will be told. Now, there is an interesting Pierce Brosnan film. You can see some of the things that the gentleman, Ian Fleming, he of course had signed the Official Secrets Act. Now, like the fellow Peter Wright, he'd signed the Official Secrets Act. Now, he just told things. Now, Ian Fleming, he died rather young. He did tell things. He simply switched the characters, shall we say. They were real events. Oh, nearly all of the Ian Fleming is real. He didn't get prosecuted because he changed the identities of the characters. If you watch the Pierce Brosnan film, the Politburo is shown discussing tactics, and the premier of the Soviet Union was holding a delicate balance. Therefore, when Boris Yeltsin and some various ladies, I know a particular lady, she's half Russian, half Romanian, some would say sexpionage. This is an area of which I have an interest. International relations, how things really work, and well, there's women, they sometimes just they just know things. Now, it was decided, and Boris Yeltsin, the military, they came to a détente, and a young man, an intelligent man, an officer, I believe Colonel Vladimir Putin, was suggested as a stabilizing force to stick to the Baker Doctrine. Now, again, the various people, why should I know these things? The Baker Doctrine was a gentleman's agreement. This is good and bad, but good and bad that gentlemen would stick to the Baker Accord, which was that NATO would not encroach into any former Soviet influenced areas. They would leave them well alone. They would not go there. This Baker Doctrine was something that I believe heavily influenced the selection of the gentlemen in the former Soviet Union, the military, the very different important areas. There are different bureaus, design bureaus, Mikoyan, Sukhoi, Tupolev, who manufacture extremely high level vehicles, the Soviet booster rockets, the Buran, space shuttle ski, as it would be known in the West, fully automatic, able to fly into space, remote control, superb technology. The situation, you have wonderful liberal education, and why am I to know anything? However, some you have asked about the crossing from one side and the special military operation. You have asked, and I have considered, and my nuanced assessment would be: you have to look at the broader picture of history. Athenian democracy, holding together the Athenian state, 500 BC, full democracy. Within 100 years, only the elite had the vote. You have to take these things extremely patiently and ponder and reflect. It's very early days in this phase. It's Act 2 of a series of events. The special military operation is perhaps Act 2 of a 3-act play, which the third act would be a socialist utopia, with Vladimir Putin symbolizing a united Russia, the West acceding. They had breached the concepts of utopianism, of the détente, of the Baker Accord. A reset would occur, and the West would accept it had made awful errors that Vladimir Putin had disagreed with. The invasion of Iraq, the catastrophe that the West walked into, the catastrophe of Article United Nations 1973, which Vladimir Putin said, hey, don't do this, it's not a good thing. The Chinese said, hey, do not do this, it's not a good thing, it will not be a good idea. You haven't really thought it through, America and Great Britain. You're not seeing the true nature of the future of socialism, utopia, of conserving, labor-saving, liberal socialism. These are all terms that overlap. You know, sometimes I had to be a bit crazy, a bit mad, a bit funny. my girlfriends, many of them, they're friends, girls, Russians, Romanians, Chinese, and they tell me many things. There's an awful lot to do with sexpionage. You know, in Great Britain it'd be, oh, James Bond, sexpionage. The KGB, the FSB, hidden levels of knowledge. People tell you things you learn. You know, you just know. You know things are not quite as people have been told in the newspapers, in the media. So we go back to the Pierce Brosnan James Bond film. You have a guy who's a James Bond character, Vladimir Putin. You have James Bond. He's a Vladimir Putin character. A colonel in the military, intelligence, patient, thoughtful, reasonable, understanding. Ultimately, though, an alpha male. You have an alpha male, and the way they reflect upon things. Now, there is an argument that actually it was a military maneuver, and there is an argument that certain things happened, and perhaps in the night there was at a level in the Politburo, while Vladimir Putin was, we look at the time, clearly probably retired for the evening to his chamber and perhaps reflecting on the moon and the stars. While this happened, a military operation began. There is an argument, and there is a suggestion that certain military generals simply, they followed, how should we say what occurred? They carried out a military operation. And this is simply one way of looking at the entire thing that has occurred. That you have a fellow who is holding together an intricate intelligentsia in Russia and concerned for Russian speaking and the spirit of Russia, of the Rus, the spirit of the Rus. This is something that you will know in your heart that they mean well. And now things have become awful. Of course, awful things are done by certain elements of the United States administration. Really awful things. And Great Britain has done some pretty awful things. But when we think, okay, let's dial some of them back, let's negotiate, let's understand that we don't know everything. Well, our feelings tell us, so why should I know anything? Really, you asked, and I've said now what I've said. Why should I know anything about anything? I have some interests. Many of my girlfriends, it's sexpionage. I have some interest in these things, but why should I know? But thank you for asking. Thank you.